Well, Matty, always massive build-ups. How's it been for you guys so far? You got Mitch Hinge to come in. How difficult is it to bring back a guy when you've had a great win?
Well, there'll be a difficult conversation if Hinge is ready to go. But it's a great position for us to be in. We made 4 changes last week, 3 of those forced, and so to perform the way we did sort of shows where our squad's at the moment. Backs up, I guess, what we've been talking about, that we're confident we've got players ready to play at the level, and to have the guys come in and perform the way they did. Berry as the sub, Smith behind the ball, and from me ahead with Jordan Butts in the key position as well. We feel that's a great position for us to be in. So this week will be, I think we will have probably Hingy available, and which way we go, we'll see after training.
Even though it's an away showdown, you're actually the favourites with the bookies the first time since 2019. Does that kind of the expectation as a favouritism? Is that something you have to kind of deal with this week? Because it's something you haven't really had to before.
No, we don't look at it. One, we're not allowed to bet. But it's not something we look at. We've locked in. Something we've done really well this year has been able to lock in on the process of what's needed that week in that moment. We're about to train. Our guys are locked in on how we go about that. We know our opposition and what's coming up. We just had a meeting regarding them and where they're at. And we also know showdowns. The history of showdowns, how tight it is. The fact that the scores are even. These games are 2 teams that are playing at their home venue. We don't, unfortunately, get our crowd there this week. Oppositions have a small advantage in that space, but we feel really comfortable playing there. We play a lot of footy there, so I think that's why you see such a good spectacle in showdowns, is both teams know the venue, know we can perform well. What we're looking at the moment is trying to back up a really strong performance with another one. And we know we're going to have to, because showdowns are played at a really high level. So if we do that, we know it's going to be a really good game.
There is always so much hunger in a showdown, but Port Adelaide likes to perform when their back's against the wall. Do you expect a bit of extra fight from them this week?
100%. That's Port Adelaide. That's what they do really well. They're a competitive team that love the battle. We hope we can bring that and match that, put on a performance that entertains, which it normally does. We've got no doubt that they're going to come out and breathe fire as they do in every showdown, and we hope they feel the same about us, because I think we embrace the same thing coming into showdown, so it should be a really good spectacle.
Talk going into showdown week this time compared to last time around has been quite drastically different. Is that something you've had to address with the group, make sure that there's not any sort of sledging going on beforehand in the week, or is that just the players doing that themselves?
No, we haven't spoken about it at all. Maybe that's a sign of where our group's at, and our experiences and what we feel is needed. Maybe that's the fact that we're focused and sort of nailed in on what it is we need to do. We haven't talked through that at all. We've been pretty busy sort of reviewing what we did really well last week. Trying to focus on now backing it up, as I said before, and training, and so there hasn't been time to talk through it. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things we're ready to play. That's what we're focused on at the moment.
When you look at Port Adelaide, I guess, how much do you look into how poorly they performed last week against the Bulldogs, or do you kind of just say that's almost going to be an aberration given it is a showdown?
When we look at our opponents, we don't look at one game. We look across a period of time, and we look at their best, and we know Port at their best, they're extremely dangerous, and they're potent when they get their opportunity. They bring heat. You only have to go back and watch the Hawthorn game, and I think everyone saw what Port Adelaide can bring and do bring when they're playing their best footy. So that's what we're expecting on Saturday night. We expect Port to come and bring that, and then it's up to us with what we bring to match it.
Does it add where their season is at the moment? I know they're 4-4, but their percentage is really low. Like these are the games they have to win if they want to make the 8. Is that kind of something you take into account as well, that kind of desperation?
Respectfully, I don't look at what Port Adelaide need to do.
Port have been in the headlines. Some of their players have been in the headlines over the last couple of weeks. Is that a game within a game? Do you go out to try to ruffle feathers and get under any of these players' skins, get them to lose their head a little bit?
It's not really us. Our history is now sort of putting the head down, going to work. we rate our footy, we rate our contest. If we go away from that, we're not being ourselves. So, you know, the showdowns are often fiery. I think because it's such a close clash every time we play them. But that's not our focus going in. Our focus will be on the footy, on winning the contest. We know how important that's going to be, and you know, we understand if we do talk about our oppo, if they are able to get the contest on their terms, that's where their real flair comes in and their ability to score. You know, they're potent going forward when they win the contest. So we're looking at the footy more so and how we go about that.
It might be difficult to answer, but do you prepare as if, you know, Willie is going to play from an oppo point of view, or do you just wait and see what happens? How do you approach that?
Yeah, we prepare for their best. He's in their best. Really important player for him, so we prepare that way. And again, it's not something that we've talked about at all yet as a group. I mean, we understand their team don't live under a rock and so on, so we understand what's playing out there, but it's not for us to focus on. We look at their team as a whole. He's a very important part of their team.
And you're a very respectful person. Have you monitored the situation, or do you just, you know, like the whole Willie thing, or how do you?
No, I don't. So I don't have the detail of the situation. So making any comment around it would be disrespectful, which so I won't be.
But is there a line on the field that you don't allow your players to cross? Because David Koch has said that it would open up a can of worms if we looked at all that is said on a footy field.
Again, it's not an area that we're focused on.
But do you have certain standards for your team on the field?
Yeah, we work on trying to build a really strong culture. And it comes back to, I guess, how this week's playing out. You guys talking about not a lot of talk out there. Well, you know, you learn through your experiences, and so we know what we've got to do to play our best footy, and that's focusing on footy.
How much did you learn from last year? Like you had the build-up, and then I think you conceded that after Isaac was knocked out by Dan Houston, the team lost their heads a little bit. How much have you learned from the last showdown?
Oh, we'll learn from every game we possibly can. So we'll look at, you know, when we don't perform, when we do perform. We'll go back to the last time we met. We look at that, you know, every week, not just for showdowns. So yeah, I've had a look at last time we met and what did we get wrong in some key moments. Some really good learnings out of it, of where, you know, maybe our opposition did it better than we did towards the latter part of the game. There's no doubt they did that. They got the result in the end, and so we'll learn from that. We'll take a little bit of that into this week, without going into detail around it, because I'm not going to share that with you. But yeah, I've got no doubt our guys will be better in that space.
Riley and Darcy Riley and Darcy both a little bit sore heading into the game. How have they pulled up? Are they, you know, they're going to just have to carry that for a while?
No, they're both feeling great. Today will be a good challenge. It's a bit wet out there, and so we'll practice some contests and they'll be involved. They may come out of one or two drills, and that's just we feel those guys bring the game that's needed on a game day. So whether we need to put them in harm's way today, but they're both feeling great. They're really well.
Sorry, how did you see the Magpies call to rest 5 players due to short turnarounds of games? Is that something more clubs will look at?
I'd love to say I didn't notice. We do play them shortly. That is what it is. It's not what I'm focused on right now, but I do know that's playing out. Again, we'll look at that with this week or so away.
No, the depth you got in the sample. Pedler's had another great game. Could he be doing any more to possibly get himself in the side?
I thought the weekend was him saying, "Hey, I'm here. I'm ready to go." I thought he started the game really well. Yeah, we've had a couple of really good chats over the last week or two just around. Yeah, his game hasn't been quite where he's wanted it either. So to put out a performance like he did on the weekend was a really good sign. His body's starting to feel a little bit better, and there were some issues around that. I think I mentioned it actually to you guys. You know, it's nice to sort of get an understanding of where he's at. I think he felt better off of that too. So great performance. He's getting some more pressure that we'd love to have from underneath.
Is there a way for him to make it into this side though now as things stands, or will it unfortunately fall to an injury for him to be able to make it up?
Oh, there's things that play out. I mean, if you just look at the history of the game, we often talk to our guys about the importance of squad. You know, we don't play 23 players across a season. We play 30 plus, or around that 30 mark. So we know that we're going to need these guys ready to go, whether it's injury, whether it's form, whether they smash the door down and just say you have to play me. Peds has got a game at his best that we know what he can do at AFL level, and he's just trying to find that at the moment. And he did on the weekend, as you mentioned, he played probably his best game for the year.
We know the midfield battle is always important, but given some of the players that Port have, how do you kind of look at curtailing Butter's influence, especially given he started the season so strongly since he's come back from injury?
Yeah, well, if you go to Butters and put a lot of attention in there, then Jason gets off the chain, and Drew gets going. They've got talent, and they've got a lot of talent on their side. So it's not about individuals. If Butters gets going, it's because we're not getting the contest right in the first place. And he's one that can do both. He can put his head in the hole and go hard, or he can get it on the outside. So it's a really hard one to stop. You've got to do it as a team. So we'll be focusing on how we do that. There'll be a plan B, obviously, if he's too busy.
Will we see Rash go more get some more midfield time after he kind of rolls through there against Cardiff?
Yeah, again, depending on how the game plays out, but yeah, we thought he impacted the game when he was around the footy. Might give him a little bit of confidence too then when he went back forward. But yeah, he's moving really well. He's come back, he did the work through the break. He's coming up there now and sort of become a professional like a Ben Keys or a Riley O'Brien. He's learned from those guys, which is what we're about. That's the culture we've built. And so he's getting reward for that, as we are through his performance at the moment as a team.
And given Port's defence is probably a bit smaller, do you still look at John? Do you think the 4 tools in the attack can be a bit of a difference point for you?
Well, let's hope so. You've got to use any advantage maybe you do have. We need those guys up and going, but it's one of those areas that's been good for us this year. We hope that continues.